Pleased to be joined on a Monday morning by Kyle Hudson, Red Sox third base coach, outfield and base running instructor, and someone who's had a big role in the Red Sox becoming a really athletic team in 2024 as they sit here on an off day at 30 and 30. Kyle, we appreciate you coming on, making your Fenway Rundown debut.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thanks a lot.
So I just want to start with the outfield. Obviously, one of your areas of expertise. We've seen that be a big bright spot so far this year. Just all around, not just Ceddanne Rafaela, but Duran, Abreu, no matter who you put out there. The outfield defense has been a real strength, for this team all season long. An athletic group seemed to get to every ball. We saw some great throws by Abreu over the weekend. Just how proud are you of what you've seen from all of the guys that you've put out there this year and what they've been able to accomplish on the grass?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of these guys. I mean, day one in spring training, we got together and we just talked about being a group, right, and being together and having each other's backs and working with intent every single day and making sure that we're out there together and talking to each other and getting to know each other. And so from day one, we've done that, and I think you've seen it translate to the field a little bit. I mean, these guys are making these diving plays. The reason why they're going after these plays are because they know that the off outfielder is backing them up, and that's a big thing, and that's the thing we stress in spring training. And like I said, I'm proud of the group and how they've been playing, but they're really good. They're really good people, and obviously really good players. And so they're going to continue to get better. They're still young. They still got some room to grow, as you guys know. And so we're going to continue to work with them. They're going to continue to go out there every day and prepare themselves to play the game and hopefully continue to make those type of plays.
And Red Sox fans remember a few years ago, the set it and forget it kind of Benintendi, Bradley, and Betts. But this group is a little bit more in terms of moving parts, right? You've had Rafaela in center and then to short, Duran stepping in and being really good in center. O'Neill, obviously, Abreu, Ref Snyder's mixed in. Is it fun to mix and match like that and still get the results and see what you can get out of every guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that early on too. Like even in the off season, is the versatility of this group, right? And you've really seen it with Duran. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this guy, this guy's put up numbers in center field and put up numbers in left field, and obviously Abreu and Rep and To and Ceddanne's only played center field, but these guys can play anywhere. And we talked about that in the off season as being to our advantage. And you're seeing these guys play above average in different positions, which is pretty impressive, right? And it kind of tells you, how in tune they are with each other and how they understand each other. And that's, we try to get our best lineup out there every single day. And so being able to mix and match these guys and put JD in left and Ceddanne and center when Hammy's going good, at shortstop and all that kind of stuff. So it gives us a real advantage to put our best lineup, and obviously we're confident with wherever we put each outfielder because we know that they're going to make the plays they need to make.
Kyle, of all the outfielders, it seems as though Duran may have made the greatest strides in the last year. If you look at the defensive metrics from a year ago, they weren't very good, frankly, in center field. Now he is among the leader in defensive runs saved and outs above average and some of the other public metrics out there. You two seem to have connected in a pretty significant way off the field, that he trusts you. He's been pretty candid about some battles he's had with his mental health, with his confidence. What's been behind the relationship that you two have built, and how has that impacted where he's been able to go to and improve?
Yeah, I think as a coach, I think what gets lost sometimes in being a coach, we go to like the drill work and the skill acquisition and all that kind of stuff. Well, you can't do any of that stuff until you develop the relationship with the player first. And so when I got hired over here, my first thought is like, hey, I have to develop a relationship with these guys before I can make any impact with them on the baseball field. And that actually got out to a rocky start with JD. I reached out to him, tried to call him. He actually answered the phone and then he hung up. And then I texted him and he never texted me back. He told me he was going to call me, he didn't call me back. So we actually got out to a little bit of a rocky start. But I think once he got a chance to have some conversations with me and understand, like, I'm developing these relationships because I care about you as a person, and I care about you being the best that you can be. I think you kind of get into those trust circles, right? And it's not only with him. I do that with every guy that I've ever had as a coach, whether it was in college or when I got to professional baseball and minor leagues or at the major league level as well. So for me, it's just I need to make sure that these guys understand that I really care about them as people first, and that I care about, that I have their best interests in mind. And that's all I want. I want these guys to be better players than they ever imagined that they could be. And that's always my goal. And, when times, when situations happen where I don't feel like a guy's reached the potential that I feel like they could, I take that personally a little bit, and I try to figure out other ways to go about it. But JD, for me, it's the individual. It's nothing that I've done to make him better. He's done it himself, and like I've kind of put him in a position to work on the right things, and hold him accountable to be consistent with what he does every day. But it's really the individual, right? And it's him, and he works so hard, and he puts a ton of pressure on himself to be the best. And you're seeing him develop. I mean, he started to develop last year. He got better last year, and he was still pretty raw. And you're just seeing him take off this year. And that's just his continued work and continued focus on being the best that he can be.
So Jarren has made great leaps forward, literally and figuratively, in center field. Also in right field, we've seen Wilyer Abreu really lock into what we know is a difficult position, between the amount of ground that has to be covered in right to a tough sun field on weekend day games. We know that right field in Fenway is a challenge. He's not played a ton there before this year. How has he gotten to this level so quickly?
I think it's a kind of a testament to our player development. Corey Wimberly has done a great job with all these guys, right? He did a great job with Duran and Rafa and Abreu. And I'll tell you what, I was so excited that Willie was going to get a chance to have an opportunity to play this right field, because we all knew his ability to play the outfield and what it was. And it's a different body type that you don't believe can cover that much ground. But this guy gets really good jumps. He covers a lot of ground. He's faster than a lot of people know. And just the fundamental side of it. Wimbo has done a great job with all of our outfielders, in the minor leagues, and has prepared these guys to come up here and compete at a high level. And you're seeing that. I mean, he's for me, he's putting up some of the best numbers in right field and in the hardest right field. And that's a huge thing, because, you mentioned it. People don't even understand how hard the sun is there on those 4 o'clock games. I mean, that sun is in your face all the time, and you can't see the ball until it gets above the sun. Sometimes it stays in the sun. He's been able to hang in there. And, early on in the season, there were some growing pains there, right? He was trying to make some plays that weren't there and weren't his plays to make. And, he got hurt on him a couple of times with some errors, and he's starting to, obviously the game has slowed down for him a little bit, and you're seeing him just blossom into, one of the best outfielders in the game.
Kyle, I think just from our seats, it's unique to watch him. Sometimes he spins twice, does a pirouette, but he comes up with the ball more times than not. No matter what's going on with sometimes the way it looks, do you always feel like he's going to come down with it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I know which one is top of mind for you. Was the line drive directly over his head. I mean, that's a pulled line drive that's right over his head, and usually that ball hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the hitter gets out in front of that thing, and that ball hooks. So what he did is he opened to the side, to the open side, to the center field side, and he immediately head turned, because his instincts told him that ball was going to hook, right? And as he turns and as he finds the ball, that thing just stayed true, and that hitter had stayed inside of that ball, and it stayed true and actually stayed straight. And so that's one of the things I actually look at, like when I'm evaluating outfielders and looking at amateur guys or looking at guys outside the organization. it's something that I evaluate in terms of like their body awareness, right? Like some players have the ability to adjust the balls on the fly, and that's what the elite outfielders do. They get going really quick. It might not always be exactly in the right direction, but they have the ability to adjust, throughout the route and adjust at the end to ultimately make the catch. And that's one of the reasons why Willie is so good, is because he has that ability and
Right.
he's so confident with his glove.
Back to Rafaela. I mean, he is, doing things that are elite in center field without playing there every day for the last couple of months. It seems like, now with Hamilton and the way he's played, it seems like you guys are trying to get Rafaela back in center on an everyday basis. But if you could just speak to how hard it is to be elite in one position, but then the added bonus of playing another very important up the middle position and splitting reps and all that. How impressive is what this kid's doing?
Yeah, I'm in awe, kind of every day on what he goes out there and does in center field. And then, obviously sometimes late in the game, he moves to shortstop and plays an elite shortstop. I think that it's an amazing thing, especially at this high of a level, and to play those two premium positions at the level that he's been able to do it. Um, it's really impressive, and it just shows his level of instincts. It shows his level of athleticism. You know, him playing the infield, as much as he has, and not just here but in the past, that's developed his skill in the outfield as well. And his jumps are some of the best, some of the best that I've actually ever seen. And so the talk with him a lot is just being consistent. He's got to be consistent, every day. He's got to be consistent every pitch, with the same pre-pitch, because when he's got his A pre-pitch on and that ball's hit out there, there's not another person in this league that can cover as much ground as he can. I think you guys saw that the other day with the catch in right center. There's no other outfielder in this league right now that can make that play and gets to that ball. And so like I said, it is impressive. He's still got a ways to go. I mean, it's crazy to think about like how much room this guy still has to improve and what he's showing you every night. But the improvements come in the consistency, and once he becomes consistent, he's going to make that play, and then he's going to make the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and then you're just going to see like, I know this game is about the metrics and all that. You're going to see these metrics just skyrocket once he
Mm-hmm.
becomes consistent in making those plays.
We've talked a lot about the athleticism of this group, and that's been kind of a theme throughout the year. A much different look, than last year with especially Yoshida playing a ton of left field. As you guys were assessing over the offseason and shifting Yoshida to DH and avoiding him in the field before he got hurt, he's only played one inning out there. Is that just about being a more athletic group, prioritizing the outfield defense, or is it just so many, good young players that you needed spots for?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously with where we were at defensively last year, I think the defense was a priority. I think that was apparent to everybody. And you know, Massa, for us, Massa's still part of our group, and he's still an outfielder. And obviously, he's been hurt and hasn't been able to get out there. I'm sure he would have
Mm-hmm.
had more innings than one at this point in the season if he was healthy. But he worked hard with us every day, and he was an important part of our group. And you saw him get better as well. And I think it's just tough to measure, um, the different out. You put certain guys up against some of these other guys that we have out there right now. It's tough. And Massa's going to go out there. Massa's going to make plays. He's going to make the plays that are around him. You're not going to see the range that you're going to see from Duran, Rafaela, or Abreu, but fundamentally he's gonna make the plays, and he's going to make the right decisions and all that. So he's still a part of our group. Obviously, the range factor plays a lot in this game now, and we essentially, you think about it, we have Abreu can play center field too. T.O.'s played center field in the past. We have a group of about five guys, and obviously refs even play center field. So I mean, you have a whole group of guys that have the ability to run balls down and cover ground, and you're seeing that every night, and we're taking advantage of that. We talked about day in and day out, just helping our pitchers and doing anything we can to take these runs away, create outs for our pitchers, and put them in good positions. And these guys are doing it.
Kyle, you wear a number of hats, as we said at the beginning of the show. We've talked about outfield defense a lot. Let's shift a little to base running and base stealing. It's been a while since the Red Sox have had guys as speedy as Duran and Rafaela, terrific raw speed, a lot of potential there. But base stealing is not just about speed. It's learning to read pitchers' moves. It's getting good jumps. It's exploding. Where are those two guys in your mind as base stealers now?
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress still. You know, these guys are. You saw what JD did last year. I think he was 25 or 26 or something like that. He was very efficient last year, right? And Rafa last year and up to this point, you know, he's learning. We're still in a position that he's getting better, and he's still trying to see the pitcher and still trying to understand the proper times to go. And it's not about us just getting to first base and us just running, right? And so that's that's continuing to be a work in progress. I mean, like I said, these guys are young. These guys are still learning, especially at this level. That's a hard thing to do, is to learn at this level. And you know, these elite speed guys get on first base and they want to impact the game, and they want to get themselves in position to score. And so, you know, sometimes that might lead to being a little bit over aggressive in a time that we don't want to be aggressive. And I think just as long as we, you don't want to take away that aggressiveness. That's one thing that I never want to do with these outfielders, these base runners. I want us to have an aggressive mindset. But we also have to have an understanding of the situation, and that's kind of the teaching part of it, right? And maybe situation yesterday, where we got Abreu up, and we get thrown out, and that might not have been the best time to go, and we have to teach these guys, why, and the why behind why that's probably not the time to run in that situation. And the thing about these guys is they're very open to that, and they understand. They understand that I'm not trying to take away that aggressive mindset. They know that I have the same mindset. I have the same mindset when I coach third base. I'm very aggressive, and I don't want to take away that, but we also do have to learn, and we have to understand. And it's not just about teaching that individual, right? It's about teaching the entire group. And so we have to make sure when something like that happens, we're talking to the entire group, and we're using it as a teaching tool for the entire group.
You referenced being a third base coach this year. That's a little that's a new responsibility for you this year. I know you've done it in the past elsewhere, but what have you learned about being a third base coach in Fenway? Because that can be a little tricky with the short left field distance, quick throws home, deciding on when to send runners from second, reading balls off the wall. What's that learning experience been like for you, getting used to sending or holding runners at third at Fenway?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Fenway's the most unique ballpark out there, and I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people help me and kind of walk me through a lot of scenarios, from Faves and from DeMarlo Hale and Mike Sarbaugh, and even Tony Mansolino. Some of those guys that have been third base coaches for a long time have helped me and just kind of understand not only what it takes at Fenway, just what it takes overall, and just giving me the confidence to make my own decisions. And you have to understand the nuances of this ballpark. But ultimately, for me, it's instincts, right? Like your instincts have to take over in time. Like you understand, what a ball down the left field line does. And I think I have an advantage being an outfield coach and having an understanding of the dimensions and everything else, and actually what the ball does. And so I feel like I'm at an advantage there. But overall, like the advice that I've received from all these other third base coaches is just use your instincts, right? And so when that play develops, understand where that runner's at, understand who the outfielder is fielding the ball, what kind of angle he's working at, and ultimately the instincts are going to take over whether to send the guy or not. And I've already made some mistakes, right? And I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I feel like same thing with our players. I'm going to continue to learn and continue to get better and continue to use those mistakes as learning tools. And I understand kind of where I'm at. Like I haven't had as many reps as a lot of these other guys. I mean, I've only coached third base for half a season in 21, and like I said, there's a lot of things that I can do better, and I'm going to continue to get better and continue to work and try to be the best that I can be over there.
I don't know how much Red Sox fans know about the role you played in an important kind of infamous night in Red Sox history back in 2011.
I don't know if we're going to talk about that.
Now that you're on this side, you might be able to reveal yourself as the tying run in Game 162 and Dino Papelbon and all of that. What do you remember about that night?
I'll tell you what, I remember a lot about that night. I remember that I didn't do much at all, right? I pinch ran at second base. I think I pinch ran for Chris Davis when he hit a double at second base. And then Nolan Reimold hit a ground rule double where I scored the tying run. So I didn't even really have to do anything. I could have walked to home plate if I needed to. So I remember that. But, I remember a lot about that night. And, it was that was my last game I ever played in the big leagues. I got called up that September, and I was there all September and never got another opportunity. So obviously I remember a ton about that. It was a fun time on the Baltimore side, but it was a crazy night. I mean, there was a rain delay and we were watching the other games. We knew what was at stake, and we were kind of using that as our World Series in a sense, because we knew if we beat the Red Sox, there was going to be a chance that they weren't gonna make the playoffs. And so we were trying everything we could to do that. And, we were able to do it on this side. Funny story. First time I had never met Pap or anything like that. And last year I walked out from underneath, and he was standing in the dugout, and this was kind of around BP, and I kind of looked over there, and I just kind of went over to introduce myself. And before I could get anything out, he's like, "I know who you are." And he's like, "You're the guy who scored the tying run." And he said it a little bit differently than I'm not going to say on here, but
right, we can't put the explicit tag at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we can't do that. But I thought it was pretty cool that he kind of remembered that, and we laughed about it, and we talked about it. But it was a good night for me, and it actually ended after that game was over. I'm not even sure what time that game ended. It was pretty late. I ended up driving 16 hours back home after that. So I was through the night, didn't get home till about 11 o'clock the next day. But it was a fun night for us. I know I've crossed paths. I worked for Tito for 3 years, and Millsy and was around all those guys. So there were times where I ribbed him a little bit from that, and I don't even know if Tito knew I was that guy the first couple of years I was over there. So I had to let him know.
Yeah, talk about that, would you, Kyle? The difference between being on the coaching staff of Terry Francona and being on Alex Cora's staff. Alex played for Tito, of course, as a player here. They're pretty good friends. How different are they as managers in terms of how they delegate, how they deal with coaches? How would you compare those two?
I'll tell you what, they're actually similar in a lot of ways. I mean, they're both of their ability to control a locker room and have the guys' ears in the locker room is amazing. And I'm so blessed to be able to say that I was able to work under Tito for 3 years, and obviously AC is my second year under him, and just seeing those guys' ability to manage a clubhouse and manage the players and all the different personalities, and to get these guys kind of on the same page is unbelievable. And one of the things that I've really taken from both of them, they let their coaches coach, and AC is out on the field, in spring training and during the day, a little bit more than Tito was. Tito wasn't out there all the time, always available, right? But wasn't out on the field, all the time. And AC's out there all the time, but even though AC's out there all the time, he's out there to help us and just be around and be around the guys. But both of those guys have an unbelievable ability to, let their staff do the coaching, and they don't interfere with it. And they obviously bring on people that they trust and that they know have the ability to develop their players and help their players be the best that they can be. And that's one thing that I would take from those guys is just the ability to let those guys, let the staff members coach and let them have the trust in them to be able to go out there and have the freedom to do what they do.
Last thing, Kyle, you talked a little bit about the playing career, and you played, 4 more years after breaking Red Sox fans' hearts that night in 2011. At what point during that stretch did you realize that coaching was something you wanted to do?
That's a good question. I really didn't think that I was going to get back into coaching, to be honest with you. I didn't know if it's something I wanted to do. Obviously, I love the game. I love being around the game. Um, the family plays a big role in it. I didn't know if I would ever be back in professional baseball for sure, just because of how hard of a lifestyle that is, especially in the minor leagues and working up through there. But I think when I got released in July of 2014, and I got a month after that, I got a call from my college coach at Illinois, and he said that their volunteer assistant job was open, and if I had any interest in it, they'd love to have me. And at that point in time, I was just set on going back and finishing my degree, and I had a couple semesters left in an internship, so I saw it as an opportunity. I was going to be back on campus anyway. As crazy as that sounds, 8 years later, I go back to college campus and I'm in class with these young teenagers and early 20-year-olds. But I he brought me on staff there. Man, I started to feel like the impact that I could potentially have on some of these young players, and I really enjoyed being in the locker room again. Right, that's something that I can never get away from. Just the camaraderie that you have with fellow staff members and obviously the players, but just the players are what it's about for me. And as I got back into it and coached that first year at Illinois, I just started to see that I love being around these players. I loved impacting these players in a positive way. I love developing the relationship with these guys and being there for them, not only, on the field, but, off the field as well. And so that's kind of where it hit. And then, 2 years at Illinois and just jumping into professional baseball, I wasn't seeking that out or anything like that. It just kind of fell in my lap, and it was a great opportunity to go into a great organization in Cleveland and be around some great coaches and ultimately, end on Tito's staff, future Hall of Famer for sure. I'm just blessed with the opportunities that I've had, and then coming over here with AC, I couldn't ask for a better situation to be in.
Well, Kyle, we appreciate it. Again, going to work on an off day for us, and I appreciate the conversations. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, have a good day.